After 9 months of waiting, the college football season finally arrived Thursday night here at Lavelle Edwards Stadium. I'm Jared Lloyd, sports editor for the Daily Herald, here with BYU football columnist Jason Franchuk. We just watched BYU take on Washington State and ended up with the 30-6 victory over the visiting Cougars. The home Cougars beat the visiting Cougars. Jason, what were your impressions from this game?
First of all, happy Friday.
Yeah,
happy
it is Friday already.
First impressions, this team's good. This team's going to be good. They've got to clean up some things. If they stop committing a 15-yard penalty every 3 plays, if they convert a little bit more in the red zone, the blue zone, whatever you want to call it, not kick field goals, score touchdowns, which they're capable of, they're going to be good. The defense missed some tackles early. We were wondering about that, Jared. You had pointed it out because they didn't tackle a lot in the preseason in August. They'll get that cleared up. I think this team's a little bit better than I thought. We knew Washington State would be down a little bit. They're not going to turn this around in one game. But BYU's versatility, when you bring in guys like Taysom Hill to run the Wildcat a little bit, David Foote coming in, I just think the options they've got are pretty strong right now.
You know, I heard during the BYU post-game press conference that some of the defensive players kind of got a little chip on their shoulder because coming into this contest, the big talk was about Mike Leach coming back to BYU with that air raid offense. They ended up with 2 field goals. And the BYU defense really played well.
I nearly had you. Jordan Johnson
did, yep.
Nearly called the pick 6. And I kind of wondered just because you know Mike Leach is going to throw it around. But Jordan Johnson played well tonight. I mean, I don't know if we've got to leave some stuff open. We don't know what kind of team exactly this is yet. That goes week to week right now. But the pieces they have in place, Jordan Johnson played well. Joe Sampson had an unnecessary 15-yard penalty, and maybe it was ticky-tacky, kind of swiped at a guy, but he did jump on a pile later than he needed to. But the aggressiveness these guys are able to play with right now, and some nice hits at the safety spots that they trust each other right now, which is pretty good for this early in the season.
So a tough night for Washington State visiting. High hopes in Pullman with bringing in a guy like Leach. What did Leach have to say after the game?
Yeah, I spent a little time with Leach along with about 10 reporters. He was about half hour later than the Spokane media expected, so they were getting a little frustrated on deadline, Jared. But what was interesting was I asked about Riley Nelson because he had alluded to Riley Nelson doesn't look like an incredible athlete on tape, and he said after this game, am I impressed with his arm? No. Am I impressed with his legs? No, but I am impressed with his leadership. He really thought, you know, you look at BYU, 10 of 17 on 3rd down, converted some key plays in other places. What Riley's able to do just doesn't really show up on film, which I think is awfully frustrating for a coach, especially early in the season when you're trying to figure out what guys like to do. Riley just has a knack, and not everybody has that knack.
It was an impressive performance by Nelson, and they were really good on those 3rd down conversions for a long time. In the second half, they I thought they got a little conservative with the offense, a little bit late. They had some opportunities to put that game really, put the hammer down and didn't take advantage of it.
We talked about it in the press box, Jared. You kind of wonder at some point if they kind of mellowed it back because you don't want to show everything. They have Weber State next week. Weber State's probably worried about all that stuff, but Utah, Boise State, you don't want to show all the tricks, but I thought it was intriguing that they showed 2 things. One, they showed Taysom Hill. They already showed that Wildcat option. And how about Connie Friel coming up with some big catches there? BYU, we've talked about the tight end position, and Connie Friel goes for some big plays.
So secondary, tight end position, got some nice special teams play from Riley Stevenson coming out and kicking. So some good performances. Skylar Ridley, how about him coming in for Cody Hoffman when he got injured? Made some big plays. So BYU got a lot of contributions from a lot of different people in this game to beat Washington State. Next week, they're back here a week from Saturday to take on Weber State. We'll be here to watch. That should be a game BYU wins and kind of a setup game for that Utah contest
like
here in 2 weeks.
UNC type game.
Yeah, that type of contest. So here in a couple weeks, then it's BYU Utah, and that could really be a huge game at that point.
And you gave me the scoop of the night, Jared. Happy birthday to Richard Teasdale behind the camera. We don't have any candles, Richard Teasdale, to blow out, but how about you show these fans a blowout?